And hello everybody. My name is Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I got my most fun on the internet, and I am joined by the lovely casters next to me, that is known as Initialize and Nightmare. Gentlemen, as I say always, please introduce yourselves.
I don't have an accent.
Yeah,
I don't have an accent. I'm not prepared for this.
I'm not doing this.
Okay, so I mean, I do need to clarify. I was casting in multiple accents yesterday on a separate stream.
Yeah,
So
that,
I had to do an extreme British accent to my Keanu Reeves American accent. So I'm feeling the accents at some point. I had to do it at least once. So you got my
covering game number 8 of week 2. This time it's going to be the SoftBank Hawks versus CGA. In a world where Crest Gaming had face against the Hawks.
So we've got Initialize doing the film trailer voice and Nightmare doing Shadow the Hedgehog in this insane crossover.
I wasn't allowed to buy this game as a child because it had guns in it.
Okay. I started this and I should get us back on track.
Yes.
Oh boy,
Gentlemen,
right.
the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming's facing off against Crest Gaming Act. The Fukuoka Hawks looked a little bit all over the place in their first game of the day. And CGA, while they were somewhat dismantled a little bit, definitely weren't out of the question in a few spots. I think it's fair to say. Ah, I've frozen. Very good. Have I frozen? I mean, things are working. Just gonna wait. Just gonna keep waiting. Hopeful that they come back. The Hawks. You're back, I'm back, we're all back together.
So we could actually hear you during the duration of that. So that was a bit of an awkward moment.
Ah,
Anyway, so basically
very good.
both of these teams were both dismantled in their last game. So
Yes.
they're looking to recover, put on, buff out some of the damage to the paintwork on their various vehicles, and try and get themselves over for a one-on-one week.
A one-on-one week is what you expect. This is the bare minimum a lot of these teams will be expecting of themselves, which is good. High expectations are better than low ones, and then trying to match them. Always shoot higher and then be okay or satisfied with a lower result. Gentlemen, where do we think a lot of this game is going to be played around the map? We've seen multiple different players step up and also have middling performances in their roles. So I'm going to throw this over to both of you. Where do we expect a lot of this game to be decided?
3, 2, 1, mid lane.
Okay, fair enough. I thought
So
that.
I think, okay, put it this way. I think if you want a more in-depth answer, the highest level of both teams is in their mid lane.
Mhm.
The highest disparity is probably in the bot lane. I think that Gango and Grendel are a proficient CVT. I don't think they're going to be hammered as hard as they were versus V3, and I think that Honey and Pooh will find it hard to keep even in that lane, particularly if they get themselves a priority duo lane.
I would actually disagree with that statement, and I would say the jungle top 2v2 is less experienced. Well, has more problems potentially. Specifically, the jungle. Unica versus Tussle is a question mark, especially as Unica seemed a little bit volatile in their previous game versus V3.
So I think the reason me and Nightmare have gone towards mid, and I
Yeah.
completely agree with what you're saying with that, with particularly the jungle experience disparity, if nothing else, that we know both of these mid laners play aggressive. Sometimes the distraction, particularly for Dasher.
Yeah.
That makes them prime targets for junglers to come in and punish that really aggressive mindset.
Yep.
If both junglers turn up at the same time to punish what they think is over-aggression from opposing mid laners, sparks are going to fly. And
True.
Unica in the last game didn't get a lot done, mainly because the early plan from CJ was scuppered by a great level 1 from V3.
And completely devoid of mid lane presence.
And completely devoid of mid lane presence.
That does
I
not
don't
help.
think that'll be the case this time around.
No, and I think that's a fair analysis. I think it's definitely going to have a lot of places to fly as it would be. I would like to talk a bit more about this bot lane that we started talking about before I completely derailed it and said no, I disagree. It's the jungle. Let's talk about this bot lane though. We've got Honey and Pooh for the Hawks and Gango and Grendel for CGA. Both bot lanes who have had beautiful performances and bottleneck performances for their teams. Why do we think this is a problem? Why do we think this will also be a very interesting matchup and potentially a sign of things to come for these bot lanes?
Gango, much like Ardia, is stupid aggressive. The guy does love to make plays, and
Yep.
he's a Draven player. That kind of tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Draven Callista.
But the guy's been around in the Pro League scene for a while. Obviously, we hark back to the time he was a substitute for Samson White way back in Season 4. He's played in the LJL in previous seasons as well. This guy has tenure. The guy's got style. He makes plays. And Honey and Poo tend to be more passive. And I think that doesn't help you when you're giving more space to Gango to make those crazy plays.
So I think my read is a little different. In sort of like, I agree with the concept. I think part of it is like, the issue is more for me like, what happens when these lanes fall behind?
Okay.
I think what happens it snowballs against both lanes when they fall behind for different reasons. It happens to both, but for Gango and Grendel, it's because Gango's stupid aggressive, and he still tries to make aggressive plays despite being behind and gets further behind. For Honey and Poo, it's inexperience. They don't know what to do from behind because they don't have the experience to deal with it as well. It's the same result. It's different reasons.
However, sometimes Gango can sometimes fight his way out of a pit. That's the caveat there.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
And I do agree with you on that. We have been shown that Honey's champion pool, and probably a reason that he was hugely picked up, was the meta was very, very different for the AD carry role. Kai'Sa, his #1 most played, if you ever see him before he was signed to the Hawks, great Kai'Sa player. Kai'Sa's not played at the moment. She's not good at the moment, and we've seen that definitely be a hindrance.
She's very situational.
Yes,
very
situational. Hugely situational. And you can't just
the
blind pick her in everything.
Yeah. The reason that's a problem is that if it's situational, it's very telegraphed when you're angling towards that. You show yourself very early in the draft, you're trying to go for heavy dive comps, and it doesn't work against every 2v2, so it's not an option for everything, and yet we've still seen them try and go towards it.
Yeah, that last lane we will briefly touch on is going to be Aramic versus Nap. Two players who have been around for a while, though Nap does have that tenure that we're talking about. And if you talk about tenure, CGA technically outweigh all of the Hawks because Honey and Poo are just so new to the LJL overall. Yep. And that could definitely be a problem for them.
It could be. And Aramic, as much as he has been around on the likes of Unsold Stuff Gaming, USG in previous years,
well, as a substitute
had a bit
still,
of a nightmare. Huh?
Even as a substitute there for a lot of the time,
Yes.
but there as well, sadly.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But he's not been able to play weak side at all, and Nap has actually had a very strong showing that so far for CGA. He's probably been, outside of Arya, the most consistent performer on their team. His Wukong has
was
been
very good. It was it was an actual carry.
Yeah, I think Nap on his Wukong solo carried CGA. I think that this
I'd
guy
agree.
is worth his weight in gold. So I'm looking forward to this top lane too.
Well, gentlemen, time to rip off that band-aid. Apologies initialized. Is it a quick point?
No, it's not. Continue.
I'm sure you can talk about it while we're in Champ Select anyway. Oh, brilliant. So, with that band-aid about to be ripped off for both of you, who's winning for this game? Initialize you first, sir.
CGA.
Okay. Nymera?
CGA still. Yep, they're just too good.
It's also Arya's playing, so I'm aware that you might be slightly biased. And I will also be siding with CGA, as I'm rather fond of Nap at the moment, so I want to see him win another game.
I love Naps. They're great.
Oh, they're
Get me
great.
through the day.
Oh, absolutely. With that all said, gentlemen, we're going into pick and ban phase. Good luck to both these teams, and, well, enjoy the coverage.
Well, no sleeping on the job for us. We are going into pick and ban.
We are, and it will, of course, be the Hawks versus CGA, and the Hawks will be taking the blue side this game around. That means it is Aramic in the top lane. It will be Tussle in the jungle, Dasher in the mid lane, and Honey and Poo, that 100-acre bot lane, hanging around in, surprise, surprise, the bot lane.
Yes, and thank you once again, Lexi, for hosting us. Of course, on the red side, this time it will be Crest Gaming Act, Nap in the top lane, Unica in the jungle, Arya in the mid lane, and Gango and Grendel in bot.
Well, we're going to see some bans that have come through in a very rapid first pick Ezreal for the Hawks. Callista, Set, Trundle have been taken off the table by the Hawks. It's some pretty standard bans for the red side CGO, though. Graves, never want to give it away. Varus, we know what that champion does. Syndra, again, pretty high priority in that mid lane.
It seems like pretty much... Oh, okay. So I was about to say, every draft is a handshake of the S plus tier 80 carries. Ashe is not among them, and it has been locked in first rotation into CJ's team comp. If this is going to be an Ezreal Yuumi locked in for the Hawks, this is a way to tear that apart. You throw the arrow at them and maybe start forcing them out of lane.
You can do it. It means that Ezreal cannot afford to use his arcane shift rather
Aggressively, ever.
Well, yeah, and if he uses it in a way that allows Ash to get a free shot of the arrow, you're in trouble. It can be very, very scary with an Olaf to run down as well. That's a pretty deadly combo. CC plus Olaf, dangerous. The response from the Hawks has been Ornn and Zoe. That's double poke with frontline, pretty standard stuff.
So Arya can just lock in LeBlanc here. That's a really good matchup into the Zoe. It gives you target accessibility with the double distort forwards onto a CC target. Nap has obviously played this Wukong and carried CGA pretty massively in previous games. It does well into the Ornn. It can get onto the backline. It's another form of engage, but it is going to be Arya's LeBlanc. We've missed you. Welcome back.
And Nymeria is rightly hugely excited. Arya is probably the best LeBlanc in the league. There are a few contenders, but
no contest.
But Arya is just monstrous. Really good.
Lexi and I were doing some out of our cast time, spending some time together, just kind of sitting and call, and we decided to spectate some Korean solo queue. And who did we see? It was Arya on LeBlanc. We spectated that game, and he got a 25 stack Magi in top 100 Korean challenger. This guy is just such a talent. Of course, he's up against Dasher. This is a skill matchup still. Dasher has been one of our better mid laners too. So all the playmaking available to these guys, this is what we want to see. Get ready for the blood.
So big bans coming out here. It will be Nap's very powerful Wukong off the table. It will be that infamous Yuumi taken off the board as well. Hawks did not lock that in with the Ezreal. They left it to later.
That's a good point.
So it will not be Ezreal Yuumi in the bot lane. Thresh is taken away from Grendel here. It does pair up really well with the Ashe. It's more CC ways to get her out. And of course, the Lee Sin is something that's just aggressive early. Tussle plays it well. Fairly standard ban here.
So I'm expecting a Nautilus probably from Grendel now. It's one thing which he keeps going back to. He's played it recently. It's another form of engage outside of the Ashe arrow. And it does well into the Ezreal, who just shifts away. I think that the Hawks potentially could look to lock in something like a Braum as well.
I think an Italy actually possibly as well for the jungle, because they've got double poke and Tussle is an Italy player.
True, but then it would index very heavily into AP. And that's something which...
There is true there. There is true. But I mean, Ezreal at the minute can solo carry off AD.
Nap has locked in the Renekton. It's worth noting, Nap had no solo kills in the regular split last split in spring. He comes into playoffs, plays Renekton, and solo kills... he solo killed Kog'Kog from Rascal Jester. Now, this guy has a very potent Renekton. Tussle going over towards Jarvan. They now have some engage for themselves as well outside of that one.
This would be an interesting lock-in alongside the Ezreal Bard. Has been rising in priority, much to Nymeria's enduring rage. But it's potentially not going to be that. I think you said about the Tahm Kench, which is an old duo with Ezreal. It's poke, it's safety.
But Tahm Kench is not the beast he wants to be. It once was, rather. And because Pooh passed up the Bard locked in by Grendel instead. Now we have more engage. It's another engage option. It's not the Nautilus, but it is still that semi-global with the Tempered Fate.
And Bard actually punishes Tahm Kench pretty well early on. You've got the good range. You can really chunk that guy out. And I know, obviously, the Tongue Lash and the Mystic Shot's a pretty good poke.
And if you get the double
versus
stun,
Volley and Cosmic Binding, I think that you win out those trades early as Gango and Grendel.
Absolutely. Level 1 from Gango Grendel is pretty huge. As much as Tongue Lash and Mystic Shot, very good from the Ezreal and the Tahm Kench. Having that double bind available and the Meep slap with the Electrocute or the Omnistone, of course, that's normally what you go on the Bard apart from Guardian. That's a lot of level 1 damage. I really love CGA's draft. I think it's very colorful, very unique, gives them a lot of different playmaking opportunities, and it gives them the ability to do what they do best. Brawl the crap out of a game.
That is one way of putting it. I'm also aware that, looking at the Hawks, they've got pretty standard back to front. They've got a Jarvan and Ornn for engage, Ezreal, Yuumi to poke into whatever Cataclysm they put down, and a Tahm Kench to keep their carries alive. That sounds pretty good. You catch an Ashe or an Olaf in there, you can blow them up. But I think, if CGA can play around the early aggressive lane in the, with the 2v2 in the bot, well, if they can play around the mid volatility, well, Olaf, I think, is stronger than Jarvan early if it is the 2v2s, unless it's a good...
No. Yeah, absolutely. Jarvan does not want to fight Olaf.
Exactly, and Jarvan can get good knockups, don't get me wrong. That's not a bad ganking tool. We know the level 2 Jarvan ganks are a thing, but the counter ganks from Unica could be devastating.
I think that, honestly, no. You don't want to get counter ganked by an Olaf. So Jarvan is more about counter ganking the Olaf. Because Olaf before 6, you land a knock onto him, and at that point, maybe you can start turning it around. However, Jarvan on his own cannot deal with an Olaf. And the problem is, in this game, there's a lot of target accessibility and priority for CJ to keep playing around. Renekton is the priority top player in terms of these melee matchups. Jace tends to beat him out, stuff like that. But, of course, this is against an Ornn. We have seen what Renekton can do against this kind of matchup. Ashe has really good wave pressure in the early levels. LeBlanc versus Zoe can go either way because it's more about your trading rather than the wave position in itself. Because if you do use your skills on the wave, it means you don't have skills to fight this other burst AP champion.
Okay, so Poke frontline versus some a little bit more playmaking from CGA, some style points, and hard. And their hard engage is the Ashe arrow. It's the Renekton and Olaf running at you. They've got a cosmic binding as well, but it's going to be interesting. I think it will be a little bit more about the laning phase. Perhaps,
and I do love the first round Ashe because what it means is that the Hawks are then put into this really awkward point where they don't really want to lock in Yuumi because having Ashe into your one carry just stunning them in place, Yuumi can't save them from that. You don't want to hop off and tank the arrow yourself. So at that point,
the response.
Tahm Kench is the response because he's saying, look, we can't save the AD carry from this. If Ezreal ever uses Shift, he's in a big prize. He's in really big trouble. So Yuumi's off the table. That's one way to deal with it.
And how are you feeling about how this game will play out? I mean, I feel the Hawks comp is a little bit more obvious, but what are you thinking in terms of advantage from draft? How are the early minutes going to play out for us?
I think that the Hawks just gave Aria LeBlanc, and that is a horrifying thing. No. The
thing is, we joke, but there is some serious truth to that.
No, that's not a joke. The guy is nuts. The guy is really nuts on this champion. He pulls off some mechanic. I mean, I was talking about how Pyrion probably has the best laning fundamentals of the mid laners in the LJL. And of course, today he didn't have the best showing with that, particularly against V3. But Aria is the playmaker. And we speak about Boogie in the same way for the jungle, as opposed. It's like the whole thing of like Boogie versus Blank from the jungle as well. It's kind of like the fundamentals, the pathing, like the solidity versus the X factor, something special. So I'm looking for this LeBlanc to do that. Ashe is very good at scaling into the late game, particularly if you go for the Infinity Edge at some point in your build. It's probably going to be a Blade build as well. Very good versus Jarvan, very good versus the Ornn, very good versus the Tahm Kench. So we're probably going to see Blade into Hurricane, maybe into a JA after that as well. Not going to be the full crit, but this Ashe does put out damage. So as long as this Ashe can stay safe, I'm looking for Gango to pick up some of this damage too.
All right. It will also be, of course, Grendel's first game on the Bard. That's something to keep an eye on. Grendel's been hit and miss. He's been good on the aggressive foot, but been caught out a lot as well. Bard's got ways to get himself out of trouble, though, potentially, even if he is a touch squishier than sometimes Grendel likes to play around.
The Magical Journey is a wonderful ability. And yeah, we've had some comments about Grendel in the past. In spring, he was a weakness for CGA. I don't think that is the case right now. I think that he's still sometimes a liability, but he does have a large amount of playmaking. That's a Magical Journey level 1. That was looking to catch out someone stood in that red brush there. Ward was put down. They at least clear that with the sweeper, and will be setting up for once again, maybe, vertical jungling.
Well, this time it's possibly in favor of CGA, though, because they want to play around their bot lane. They want to play around that range 2v2. Yeah. They want to play around the strength of Bard and Ashe level 1. It's not going to be the Cosmic Binding level 1. It will be the Magical Journey. And CGA, after that last game, they got level 1 invaders. Like, time. It's our time. We can do it this time. And the Hawks were just like, nope, we're staying under tower. We want nothing to do with this. We're putting a wall down.
We're good.
We're done with this.
So it's going to be Guardian from Grendel. Guardian, very popular keystone right now. It was changed in 10.11 in terms of some of the shielding it gives and some of the conditions for it giving the shield. It's not wasted on incidental damage more often than not. The Hawks will be starting on the enemy red buff. Nap has a look in, confirms that is the case, and heads back to lane. One of the things about Renekton on weak side, particularly when you've got yourself something like an Ornn, is that even though Renekton is a very strong strong side top laner, you don't really get to punish him because with empowered Qs and stuff, he hits that onto 2 champions as you dive him. He gets like an extra 300 health back,
and you can stun people under tower for a very, very long time.
And he stuns people under turret as well. This guy is more than happy to play on weak side, particularly against lower damage matchups.
And we can see the Twitter vote here is in favor of CGA. It's not as big as you might think, but remember, like, Hawks have a fairly big fan base. It's a lot of quite tenured, famous players on the side of the Hawks. I'm looking at Dasher. I'm looking at Tussle in particular. Ramune is on the bench now, of course, but he as well has definitely got himself a brand in this league. The bot thinks it's about a 50-50 with picks that have come through. I can see where they're coming from on that. CGA will want to win the bot lane pretty hard.
I think it's just indecisive. I think it's, yeah. I think it's not brave enough.
And I can see how the Hawks win team fights if a Cataclysm and a Call of the Forge God allow easy setup for Honey and Dasher to blow people up.
There's something to that. Grendel now actually
level 2 Rome.
Doesn't achieve anything, but you can see, I love what Arya is doing here. He's just freezing out, or rather holding the wave on his side of the lane. If Dasher goes to farm with the Paddle Star, that AoE damage and the high damage, of course, the Paddle Star as well, ends up just pushing that lane further and further, and you don't want to stand within QW range from the LeBlanc, particularly when you know the Olaf is off the map and the Bard is off the map, because you can go down for those early kills.
If you started the magical journey level 1, you've already got the shove in. I can see why you just attempt to go for a roam. It's not going to take you all that long to get back. Barb wants to roam to pick up his meeps anyway, so it doesn't sound like an awful opportunity, really.
Tussle going to take top scuttle. Olaf going to do the same on the bottom side. Looks like going to be a good trade of. Oh, it's probably not the best distortion. That the wave comes in time. I take it back. Good timing from Arya. The sleep lands. It leads to nothing. Well played by Arya to get behind the minions. Not sure if that was calculated, but good for him nonetheless.
Dasher probably chose the wrong way to throw this Paddle Star out. If you'd thrown it the other way, I think he probably got that onto him. He just threw it the wrong way.
Yeah, very true.
So, credit to Arya for trying to get as far away as he could, but I also a little bit of questions from Dasher there, as Tussle and Dasher decide with the wave pushed up that a Jarvan plus a Zoe could dive this Renekton, which will be under tower.
Very true. We talked about it being a 1v2. It's a 1v3 now.
All right. The distort is down. There's the knock-up. How well can that play? He's dashing. He's got the
sun!
Aramik goes down for first blood. Ruthless Predator does all the work you need.
Nap puts Aramik to sleep. First blood over the Renekton in a solo 1v3 tower dive outplay.
The slice, the dice, the stun. It's all too good for this Renekton.
All too easy.
And that's even with Dasher burning heal. Aramik flashed. That's rough. That's real rough. Let's see this again. I want to see exactly what that Nap does to get out of the way of all the CC.
So he gets hit by the Searing Charge from the Ornn. Aramik takes aggro, flashes out from the Flag and Drag, uses the slice, the dice, gets himself that actually the unempowered W there as well. Even if he didn't even manage to get the elongated stun. Fantastically well played by him. That just locks up Aramik. Tower dive was disrespectful from the Hawks.
Hunter becomes the hunted, and it turns out a ruthless Predator is always ruthless, even when they're under turret.
Sure.
That is pretty damn scary.
You can definitely say, the Hawks didn't chain their CC very well, did give enough time for Nap to flash out, but that is the risk you're playing. Maybe it's something about the timing, but something back. Wow.
That's just so irritating.
That's what we like to see.
I also just do want to credit Nap. We've had a lot of praise for him. They actually might have to wait a second. I think Grendel and CGA are going to keep going. They force a flash out because of the slows and the cosmic bindings. The meep slap slows, the volleys slow, the binding hits. There's just, you can run people down with that duo.
And the Cloud Dragon has been taken by CGA as well.
That's big.
I am a big fan of when Cloud Dragons spawn early into the game. I think that when you get a Cloud Rift, it's less effective. Dasher might be caught out by a Magical Journey here.
Magical Journey. Can they get the cosmic binding down? They kept it in.
He misses.
Does miss because that's a good dodge. The chain doesn't know and forces the flash.
Okay, flash force. Forced either way. Unica going to receive the Guardian Shield and not get hit by the Paddle Star. Grendel finding openings on the Bard. And then misses the cannon. For his
Resign. That's it. You're done. You're never going back to mid lane again. All right. Well, we're going to see a 3 versus 2. The bottom Scuttle Crab.
If I'm a mid laner,
it's a 4 versus 2. They land asleep onto Grendel. The axe slow is something, so it means they won't chase any further through. And it will just be the Scuttle Crab pickup. It's actually Arya going in, throws the Ignite down. The heal has to be popped, I think, from somebody, but it's not going to matter because Ignite is all you need. And the 1v1 solo kill over the wall while the rest of the Hawks watch on. Pooh's in trouble again. The slows are here. Can Grendel get something? That's another slow. Are they going to throw the Ignite down? They do. Bang slowed horribly. He's burnt his thick skin and he just goes down. Those slows are utterly ridiculous. Now, Honey under tower getting chunked out. Here comes Unica. They're thinking about it. Forces not the flash, but the arcane shift. Honey has the flash.
Unica's low.
He is low, but he does manage to get himself to safety. And that will be a magical journey out from Grendel. And great play from the bot lane. And Grendel once more.
Okay, right. I'm sure we'll see a replay of that, so I won't recap it right now. Because Tussle's here as well. No flash on Unica. There are flashes on the bot laners.
Might need to be forced. There is the Cataclysm onto the Olaf. That Viking goes down. Gango does flash a bit awkwardly. He's got the heal still. Doesn't use it. He's going to get slept, but look where Grendel is. The flash in doesn't work because Guardian there. The Guardian's there, and Dash is taken precipitously low and does survive. And the flash burn from Dasher as well to do that. Summoner's burn all over the place there. Tussel's burn flash, Dash's burn flash, Honey's burn flash and heal. Double summoners from Gango. Grendel's still got his flash burn from Unica. There you go. That's the rundown. Basically everything.
Everything burned for very little game from the Hawks there, and they lose. Well, more importantly, Dasher is losing a lot in this mid lane. The solo kill with the Dark Seal picked up for Arya means 2 stacks there, extra AP being picked up, and a huge wave being shuffled into turret by the LeBlanc means that there is over a 1 level lead now for Arya, probably sat at about 1 and a bit there. And this LeBlanc off to the races and set up to succeed.
And I really appreciated the shielding play there from Grendel, basically blocking the paddle star. So Dasher had to try and flash over to maybe get the more sparkles damage. Wasn't enough. They use the heal afterwards. They get out. Someone has a burn, but it's a kill in the bot lane. They get the kill in the mid with Arya just playing as Arya does. They got the 1v1 solo kill, 1v3, I apologize, solo kill in the turret. This is CGA looking significantly better than they did versus V3.
I mean, they are brawling. They are grouping. They are brawling. And there's no karma to add in that extra HP this time. Tahm Kench, if you devour someone...
Be careful.
Ooh,
Double
Chain
distort.
misses.
Chain did miss.
Chain does miss. There is something to be said. Okay, so we're going back to that solo kill for Arya. It's worth noting, if an Ignite is on a target, Tahm Kench doesn't stop someone from taking damage that's already on them. It doesn't cancel out a DOT. The Ignite was already on. He didn't have a Guardian. All it was to show. And this 2v2 still happening in the mid lane. Dashing forward. Chain lands this time.
Chain does get broken, though. And now Arya's been knocked up, but he's got enough HP. He goes invisible with the passive. The clone is running. Arya flashing. Does survive for now. But here comes the call of the Forge God. Unica
he dodges it!
Slain the Zoe, and he does dodge the remainder. Now Aramik trying to flash away, but that's an angry Crocodile here to slay a Forge God. And the arrow has to be backstepped from, but Aramik will escape at least. That is the Abyssal Voyage to come to mid. But Gango and Grendel now on the hunt for the bot lane, I think. But with vision and not enough knowledge for the side of CJ, they will back away. It is a 1 for none. The mid laner falls again. Arya escapes with some fancy footwork.
What a series of plays there. The 2v2 elongated after that initial play, going back into the replay. Now, this is after the initial chain had missed from Arya. He dashes forward, gets it onto Dasher, who burns the heal immediately. The sleep lands. That means that the damage from the Dragon Strike does come through. Well, let's see what happens here. Flashes out the paddle star. Yeah, the Call of the Forge God coming through, and he distorts away from both of the big ultimates from mid and top lane and gets out scot-free. What fantastic timing.
That is such a disappointment for the Hawks. They were in the 2v2. It was looking good. They got the sleep onto Arya. He was in trouble, but they just couldn't quite stick on the man. He's 10 CS. He's 101. He's got 3 stacks on that Dark Seal.
He's a level up.
Here's the level up. It's looking a bit risky, and we talked about Dasher and his aggressive plays. This time, the volatility is working against the Hawks, even if it looked kind of good there. There is your 10-minute mark AI check-in, and with the 2,000 gold lead, with it being around mid lane, with it being around bot lane, that spells disaster early on for the Hawks.
And these are 2 really good stat drakes for CGA as well. Normally, so Cloud Dragon is just good in general, right? Having your ultimate available to you more often, particularly when it's something that you use on cooldown, something like the LeBlanc ultimate is very, very useful. Having the Infernal there as well, particularly when you have an assassin on your team. Arya jumping forward, chain lands.
Oh, it does land. It's going to come in. Remember, there are no summer
Double
spells. That is a tempered fate, and Grendel is here to punish Dash, who does flash away just in time. Can Unica get anywhere near? Nope. The corrupting pot is ticking. I apologize, and that means that Dasher will survive. Here comes Gango roaming up. Can they get the arrow? Pooh is also here, trying to keep their mid laner alive, but Dasher put in a challenging position once more, and Grendel looks practiced on this part.
I wonder if that Tempered Fate actually saved Dasher, though, because the second chain went on, the stun was then overlapped with the stasis, no more damage could come through. He flashes away afterwards because the bind misses, and then Dasher makes it out with his life, even though he's down a summoner. Right. Big Cataclysm, though.
It is, but there comes the distortion. Now Tussel's locked in place, but look, Tahm Kench invalidates it. That's a sleep onto Arya, but the whole of CGA is just there to body block for their mid laner. The Mystic Shock did land there, takes Arya to about half HP, but the mid lane pressure continues, and despite the CS going up, it's not just that. It is the 3, nearly 4 plates that have gone over. Hell, it's 2 plates in the top lane as well.
It is, and it is also 2 dragons, of course, over to CJ. That's one of the important things. It is a Ocean Dragon. Ocean Rift is very strong. It's very strong. It's very strong for an Renekton, very strong for an Olaf as well. It allows you to take the longer fights. Unica running into Adamek doesn't have the most damage in the world with this Cinder Hulk build, though, and Adamek just walks away.
He's got true damage on his abilities. It'd be fine.
Well, look at the amount of damage he did to the Gango, though, getting
Oh,
aggressed
not again.
onto.
And Pooh's like, do I have to burn my exhaust? I do have to burn my exhaust. I'm still being run down.
Heal.
There's the heal as well. Tom Kench cannot run away from the slows.
No, and this is without the blade completed yet from Gango as well. We are honestly, Gango is going to have some pretty huge damage numbers at the end of this game because of the amount of time he spent wailing on this tank support. Dasher going to take the honey fruit, of course. That's one of the things which you do get from the Ocean Rift. Unica looking to potentially punish this Zoe, though. Arya and Unica looking to link up again.
Tussel's not around this time, but look where the Tom Kench is, roaming up into the river just to put a ward down, and there comes the Distort
Chain
forward.
hits.
Chain lands. Dash is in trouble. He's going to use the ult to try and get a bit further away. The Ragnarok is actually burned to invalidate sleep, and that is actually...
Well played by Dasher, though, actually.
It was pretty well played.
Also, way to get out the chain tether. Doesn't get the CC down. Of course, the mark doesn't pop as well. Nap just casually taking top plates, rather.
He does. He gets another plate up there. That's good news. Nap does some trading onto Aramik in return. He's got the level advantage, and he's got himself up to a roughly 30 CS lead off the back of the early outplay.
The early outplay, meaning that also, I mean, Aramik also burned his, I'm trying to remember if he burned his flash for that too. I'm not sure if he did.
He did. He flashed away and died even to the tower shot.
Yes, okay. So it was a flash for flash trade with the gold from First Blood. And also remember that solo kills give a lot of XP nowadays.
Yeah,
give 20% more XP than they used to. Means that you get a pretty sticking XP advantage if you get more solo kills.
And Ash has picked up the weapon of Arula. That is a Blade of the Ruin King to go with the wannabe Queen of the Freljords.
The player or the Monarch.
Yeah, indeed.
Because Rula was an Ash player.
He was.
He still is, in fact.
He is. He was. He's a very big Ash player. But Blade of the Ruin King has been picked up as kind of what we're actually trying to get at here for Gango. Coming up towards the 15-minute mark, that's a pretty big deal. It's also going to be the Black Cleaver plus Aegis picked up for Nap.
Big goal
that is massive gold difference from plates. It's 2 in the top lane, 3 in the mid. Somehow, some way, that's what the massive tumultuous fights that have forced multiple resets from Dasher have led to. Bot lane is a little bit more even, but that's because Gango and Grendel have been either getting kills or roaming away.
One of the things about Ocean Rift is that you do get a lot more bushes. It means that vision control is harder to establish over large swathes of ground because, of course, bushes block vision, and it's harder to sweep it all out as well. Because, well, no, it's harder to retain it. Ash mitigates a lot of that. Hawkshot is a wonderful ability. It will help a lot in this game, potentially because there will be a lot of plays being made onto Gango and Grendel because they are the immobile duo. Speaking of that, Jarvan's on the bot side of the map. This could be a big play for them.
Going on to Pooh, though, and actually Tussle is a long way away. He went to look for more of an invade. The Blade of the Ruin King slow comes down. Pooh is so down low. Flash is out. Now Grendel's in trouble. There's a Tempered Fate, but it misses because it's flashed by Tussle. Arya is here, though, and gets the double kill with a single down Distort. Well, the play was started with the bot lane. It's finished by the mid lane. Aramik is teleported in and does get a kill onto the Bard, but here comes Nap, and he's going to punish the Forge God for coming in. It will be a burnt flash, but a 2-for-1 trade is what it is. A lot of summoners burnt, but Arya finishes the fight. That is some great double distorts just to claim the low health bars of Honey and Pooh. 100 acre bot lane go, oh bother.
Oh bother. And yeah, that is a death for this Ezreal. And the Ezreal is just finding it so hard to have an impact in this game. We're going to go back over the replay. As we can see, looks like CGA have not tracked Tussle coming in here. There's a sweeper which spots them out, and that means that Tussle is immediately heading down. But Pooh has the flash, but he doesn't have a heal, doesn't have an exhaust, because he takes so much damage before he is forced to escape. Timely Cataclysm from Tussle gets himself out of the Tempered Fate, but it does not save his bot lane without summoners, without health bars, and gifting over a lot of gold to this very, very scary LeBlanc. At least Aramik manages to pick up the kill onto the Bard, but he does burn teleport, burns a flash for it as well. So a lot of longer cooldowns invested by Hawks to get themselves just that one turnaround.
Yeah, 3-0-1, 7 stacks on the Dark Seal. That is a Luden's Echo and a blasting one in inventory now.
Herald summon bot lane too. Just
Herald
punishing the Ornn while he's down. LeBlanc's roaming down too. This could be a kill.
Ornn's got to be a bit careful. There's an assist me ping coming out like, please save me. And he just searing charges back.
In fairness, actually, Aramik, we have, you know, we've railed on him a little bit saying, look, this guy's not very good at playing weak side. He doesn't die then. It's good. That is good. You know, Aramik in some of the previous games might have died in that situation.
I think there's also something to point out here. Actually, Grendel does Magical Journey, the Olaf into the Baron, into the Dragon Pit, and I think if they do start playing around Baron, the ability to Magical Journey in and out the back of the pit does save some of the more immobile members like Ash and LeBlanc to blow flashes and stuff, which can be pretty useful as the game goes on. But what is more useful is that Ocean Drake pick up for CGA they third. It puts them up to Ocean Soul Point. They are already steamrolling this game. It is 4,000 gold in the lead for CGA. We've kind of seen the item discrepancy already. There is at least the Manamune in for Ezreal.
And look at the XP discrepancy there as well. You know,
Yeah.
that's like a half a level for all of the major carries on CGA. You know, Nap's up on Atomic, Audio's up on Dasha, and Gango's up on Honey. This is, you know, that sticks. Like I said, it's harder to find yourself XP differentials in this game. Oh, this could be a big play for the Hawks here. They see them now.
Tussles over the wall. He's coming in. There's the Cataclysm. There's going to be a lot of danger. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage. That's a good use of the Tempered Fate, though, to keep Honey out of the fight. For magical journeys going on. Can Pooh and Grendel outplay this? But it is 4 versus 2. And Gango is the last man standing. That's a lot of damage, though. He's trying desperately. Healing, stealing. But it's not enough. And Honey finally picks up the kill. But it was closer than I was expecting.
I wonder if that damage had gone into Honey instead of Pooh. That could have been a kill. It is the bot lane going down together as a duo with, again, a lot of things invested from the Hawks, but this time it's for a much bigger payoff. Atomic still manages to collect the wave on the bot side of the map. This is a nice turnaround packet of gold for the Hawks.
And CJ's bot lane just being a little aggressive, and Tussle and the rest of the Hawks turning it around. That was a good use of the Cataclysm. They tried to outplay it. They really did, but there was just so little options in that one. And, you know, good play by the Hawks. It gets them something in this game. They're still down a long way. Don't get me wrong. They've still got no turrets. Their Zoe does no longer have a mid lane turret, which is pretty damn terrifying.
Honey, I'm sure you want to step up there.
Yeah, gotta be a bit
Does
careful.
have the rare mana. It's a good time to get that transformation.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big deal. It's also worth pointing out, of course, that Arya still has 2 levels on Honey, though. So whether you got a Muramana transformation or not.
And 0 MR or HP.
Yeah, exactly. And with the loot, it's blasting one of the Dark Seal with a lot of stacks.
And Sword Boots.
Yeah, that's a lot of ways to blow up a very squishy Ezreal.
Yes. I mean, Sword Boots give you some really good combat stats. Particularly when you got higher base damages and stuff, too. It gives you 21 Magic Pen. That's nice.
Tussle finds Unica in the jungle, and for once, Unica has a level lead, by the way. That's a little unusual for this CGA jungler, who's sometimes been in a bit of a difficult spot with that. And Arya is starting to do what LeBlanc does at this point in the game. Hop forward into bushes, start using the champion more as a poke mage than like a complete burst mage.
I actually don't even think he needs to go for something like a Banshees this game. There's not a lot of things which instantly replace him. Yeah, exactly. You can be worried about the sleep, potentially. Maybe that's something which you just say, okay, right, I'll just get myself Banshees just in case I get hit by the sleep. But you could go for a Void Staff next. Try and burst out the Jarvan, burst out the tankier members of the Hawks, but you can just go straight towards something like a Morello too. No, there's a lot of things you can do with this build.
And the stat spot is calling this game a little doomed for the Hawks at the minute. It is a 96% chance of CGA walking away with this one. And frankly, with a 4,000 gold
I'm not
lead,
inclined to disagree.
Yeah, and with who's got the damage and the kills, I'm there to agree with you as well. Maybe the Hawks can find something. Dasher looking for a bubble. Doesn't land it. There's a Sheen in inventory now for Ezreal, but he's a long way behind.
The thing is, Ice Spawn is a really cheap item. So
he's still actually really true. He's got the Glacial Fight.
He only needs like an extra 650 gold to complete that item now. He still will reach that item breakpoint relatively soon into this game. It's just how effective is it going to be when Arya can just one-shot him? You need a Death Stance to survive this game. You absolutely do. You're not getting the extra HP from a Phage component. You're not getting any MR. It's still... Arya it's got the crosshairs trained on this Ezreal.
Also worth pointing out, that Bard has now got Athenes, which is an interesting build choice on Bard. I've not seen that so often, but I'm assuming that will help with the health shrines he can put down.
For sure, yeah. I mean, so Athenes does damage on the pre-mitigate... Athenes heals for an amount of pre-mitigated damage that you have done up to a cap, right? So you have to deal damage for it to heal more. So if you slap someone and land a Q and then you just W someone, you get that full heal pretty well. It's not like the Dead Man's Plate. It's not like Dead Man's Plate, Fire Cannon, Revolver, Sheen, which you can get on Bard for just the one-shot slap. No, it's a genuine build. It's such good fun. He has very overtuned overtuned numbers in terms of the damage department compared to a lot of supports. He can definitely do that. We see a lot of challenger players do that. However, it is going for that more defensive build. There are 2 items now on that Ashe, very ready to fight.
Yeah, 2 items on both of these AD carries. It is an Oblivion Orb, but it's completed Morello in for LeBlanc, and we have an Ocean Drake, the one that would decide Soul for CGA in 20 seconds. Nap has shoved this wave into the top lane tier 2, and because the Hawks have had to try and contest around this Ocean Drake, can't afford to give it away. It's giving Nap free reign over this lane. The True Shot Barrage cleans out the wave, but there's a second wave coming in, so it's not even going to save the tower.
It's also a combat spell used in defense of a tower, which doesn't succeed. The tower still goes down, and now you don't have that ultimate in time for this dragon spawn. CGA looks like they do have vision across this river. They do have the initial positioning on it as well. Let's see if they can find themselves a pick.
They're looking for it. Aria's dashing forwards, doing the usual Aria LeBlanc things. Gango's in the mid lane, trying to throw some poke. Nap has found a decent flank. He's not on vision. There comes the arrow.
Huge.
It's on to the Tahm Kench. No one you can save yourself. Flash in by Nap. The ruthless predator is around, but it's Aria who picks up the kill from Honey. Slice, dicing in there, and Aramik now in trouble. Gets a double, does Aria, continuing to go forwards. But I think they've done enough. Tussle is half HP. It's only Pooh around as well. He's got no flash. Tussle has no chance of coming in to steal this, and it will be Ocean Soul along with the 2 kills over to CGA.
And slowly sliding into the abyss is the Hawks right now. They are against the Medjais of Aria, gone back, and with the 10 seal stacks means that extra movement speed is now available to that Medjai's user in the LeBlanc. It is the Ocean Soul. That is one of the more insurmountable objectives in this game, particularly when you've got HP stackers, which do survive to make good use of it.
Well, that puts us up to a 6,000 gold lead. It puts us up to an Ocean Soul. It puts us up to 3,317 damage done by the Ashe in that team fight. And CGA running away with this one.
And well, the thing is, though, Aria and Nap, even though they had damage to... Well, they had less damage. It was damage to the Ezreal. And that's one of the important things. Honey, if he's not alive to start using that 2-item spike, well, the 2-item spike doesn't matter.
He did 312 damage with that 2-item spike because he was obliterated.
Yes. And I said earlier in the day, how many times do you see an Ezreal on the 2-item spike get out-damaged by his opposing ADC? Well, that's more than 2 times. That's just non-existent from Honey. He just couldn't fight that.
Yeah, and when you're getting slowed down by the Ashe, and then you've got a Fed Renekton and a hyper-Fed LeBlanc running after you, I don't care if you've got Arcane Shift, it's not enough to keep you away. Nap is now over the back of the wall. Aria's hunting, though, trying to do as much damage as he can. The Baron is down to about half HP that CGA have started. Aria had to flash away because he is playing goalkeeper. Grendel took in some damage onto Tussle, and Aria in a bit of a difficult spot, but he does manage to escape thus far.
He's running them around.
He is running them around, and they just can't get to this Baron. It's at 2,800 HP, and CGA have likely secured it. The Dominus now popped to continue to goalkeep. Tussle drags across the wall, but it's not going to keep the Baron from going down. Here comes the re-engage. That's a lot of damage, and Gango's been doing a lot of that. That's a knock-up now onto the LeBlanc, but it's only half HP down because the rest of the Hawks have to run away. Now there's the Ruthless Predator Aramik, who doesn't take all that much damage in fairness. And that is going to be the end of it. CGA get Baron. They force the Hawks away, and they are going to move on to a siege to this mid lane tier 2.
And as soon as Nat pops his ultimate, the Hawks just sound the retreat. They cannot contest the Baron. They lose that. They lose a lot of health bar to the antics, we'll put it, of Aria on the LeBlanc. At least there's a red buff steal from the ultimate of Honey, but it is just so little in response to CGA, who have an Ocean Soul, have a Baron. They have waves in their favor too. It's looking like it could be a bit of a shutout from CGA.
It feels like it's more like an Infernal Soul because the Hawks game is burning down around them, and it's only leaving Ashe and LeBlanc, of course. So
wait, that's not how it goes.
Well, there you go. Smoke and Mirrors has earned this LeBlanc the right to play around, toy with the food around that sort of blue area there. Prevent the Hawks from getting anywhere near that Baron pit.
Turns out Honey really, really hates healing. So much that he's bought himself.
Oh, no.
He's dual-wielding Executioner's Callings. He's just, he just really wants... The head's been called twice, and there are 2 Executioner's Callings.
Well, that's a rough one. We won't talk about it. Well, actually, we will talk about it. We'll mean
we have to. I mean, you have to. I mean, because at this point, you're waiting for just anything you can grab onto because you are being choked out of this game and you need something to fight back with. Ezreal is a good start. He's sold it off now, but it doesn't mean that gold gets back to him. It means he's further away from that death stance. I'm not sure he's going to complete that before the game ends either. So now it's just really lights out from the Hawks.
And it's also consistent damage that... that's down, right? And they need that consistent damage versus Nap, who's this hyper-fed as Tussle takes most of his HP bar. They are a poke team in a lot of ways. Zoe's not the best anti-Renekton person in a 1v1. They needed something with a bit more consistency, and when their AD carry is building double executioners, they're in trouble. Nap slices and dices himself away. Aria continuing to dash over the wall.
He's just being annoying.
He's just irritating.
Yeah, he's just removing health bars, meaning that people can't stand in the defensive line. Sleep lands, it doesn't matter. You can't capitalize on that anyway. These towers will fall. Ult comes in for Tussle.
Gang goes in, but we're looking a lot of damage coming down. That is another use of the Tempered Fate to keep Honey out of it. Good stopwatch keeps Gango alive, and he stays in it. There Where is the heal? The Athenes keeps going.
Nap's
Gango alive.
huge.
Nap is huge. He's in the front line. And the Hawks having a runaway Dasher is burning,
Ignite!
burning. And it really is the Hawks to games burning down this time, but not with Ashe remaining. Because, actually, no, I apologize. Ashe does remain. She's alive. Arya is still here, still trading, still being an irritation. And Unica throws some axes. The mid lane tier 3 goes down. It's an inhibitor remaining. There are 2 people dead. It's a 5 versus 3. And the Hawks, it's all over but for the crying, I feel. There's still a Baron buff going on. It's 5,000 near enough. Baron power players. Arya destroys Honey. There is nothing left. We're looking at basically no wave clear around. They've got chains now onto Aramik, who goes down to Unica. Tussle and Pooh being chased away, spat back onto the fountain. But a frog and a man with a spear are nothing to the rampant force of Crest Gaming Axe. Let's see if they can do anything. Dash is here. He's got an ignite. That's all it is. And he's back to the fountain already. CGA. They're going to play with their food on the fountain. They're going to throw a last tempered fate. Maybe they'll go for the fountain dive. But it's all over now.
I can't wait to see the damage numbers from this game. Some huge work put in from the carries of CGA, and they will clean up this game for a 1-1 week. Join a host of teams at that 3-1 standing. So as we come out of our final game of coverage from LJL Week 2, we are going to go to a quick break and come back to you with the postgame.
Hello everybody. That concludes coverage of week 2 of the summer split for the LJL. Gentlemen, welcome back to the desk. That is Initialize and Nightmare. I'm still your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi, go by Master on the internet. What a series we've had, and that was our final one. The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming failed to pick up a win, but CGA were able to rectify their first game and ended it going 1-1. Gentlemen, let's talk at the very beginning of the game, and actually before they even load on to the Rift itself in that pick and ban phase. That first pick for Crest Gaming Act kind of started this whole thing, and, well, we saw Ash be picked up. Not a common pick in the metagame at all.
No. So, I mean, well, they picked it when I was halfway through saying, oh, they haven't banned this, which means it will be a handshake on the meta AD.
Yep.
And then Ash was locked in.
Snap locked as well, yeah.
Yeah, so Ezreal first pick, Ash immediately responded. What that means is that Hawks bail on their idea of Ezreal Yuumi, because if you fire an Ashel at Ezreal with the Yuumi on it, you get a 2-4 special. You kill the Ezreal, the Yuumi falls off as well. The hard engage onto that champion just means that the Yuumi is very risky to play. They pick up the Tahm Kench and had not nearly the same amount of impact as a duo.
Yes.
And I think the Tahm Kench as well got hard punished by the Bard, because then you have this melee laner who's getting slowed by the meep slap, slowed by the Ranger's focus and the passive from Ash, and he tries desperately to run away in slow motion and just dies.
But what's amazing about that Bard is he was rarely actually in his lane. When he was there, he punished, but then where was he the rest of the time, Nymera?
So it's something which I've been kind of looking at in terms of, so in one of my lucid dreaming prophetic visions of 3 a.m. random league meta.
Basically having nightmares of Bard because you don't like
pretty
him.
much.
Yeah.
I'm just sat there with I've got my sleep paralysis and it's just like Bard sat there. It's horrifying.
But he plays lovely music.
If you
not at 3 a.m. he does it.
It's very scary. If you have an AD carry that can be left in a 1v2 scenario, your support can do so much more. Bard already gets his XP from his chimes anyway. He doesn't need to be in lane all the time. It means the Ash gets free farm because Tahm Kench can't force onto you. Can poke you out a little bit. But when you're building lifesteal first item as well, the Ash is very safe in a 1v2. Bard just goes right across the map, taking on mid lane, taking on junglers and everything, and completely open up in this duo lane. This was a masterclass in the draft phase.
And I really love this because while this was the first time Grendel ever picked this up, it looks like it might be a really good pick moving forward, especially for CGA, as we saw that Bard ultimate be very useful in a lot of spots. Not necessarily for the incredible, oh, I'm going to 5-man stun or 3-man stun, we're going to pick off the carries in the back line and then we'll kill the rest of them. No, it was far more for zoning, which I actually really appreciated, as that's what they did. Let's talk about that top lane, though. Talk about zoning. Talk about playing very uniquely. Nap in this top lane, almost at minute 4, I think it was. Just doesn't care. Go on. Who wants to run me through this?
I'll do this.
Go on, sir. The play-by-play likes to run me through a play. All right.
So we set up this narrative that Renekton is a scary champion to dive. He heals a lot with the empowered Q. He's got slice, he's got dice, he's got stuns. He can get his way out of trouble. It was a 1v3 tower dive.
Yes.
He was under half HP. They get the knockup. With the Ornn, they don't get it with the Jarvan. Nap flashes, he then slices in, stuns the Ornn with the tower aggro on him. He's not that tanky. He flashes out and still down well dies. Nap plays weak side super well, and he just knew what he was trying to do, what he had to outplay, and the Hawks were just left dumbfounded.
No. Initialize, you misunderstood. He wasn't on weak side. It was the Hawks that were on the weak side.
It's they have numbers 3-1, an even fight then.
No, it still wasn't even. It still wasn't even. They needed the support. They needed Tahm Kench, then it would have been even. But in all fairness, none of them were playing Aatrox. None of them had a knife big enough to turn around and be the real crocodile hunter and to show that that was a knife. And I think that just kind of really exacerbated the problems moving forward as Nap just continuously did this over and over and over again, zoning, rarely always participating fully in the team fights, more just scaring away, and that later happened. We'll touch on that in the Baron play talk, because that's going to be a really fun one. But I want to talk about Arya in this mid lane, and to a degree, his jungler that was assisting him. But I will first throw this to Nymera to kind of talk us through Arya, and please do mention that his jungler, please, Unica. Unica needs to be mentioned.
You have my interests. Now you have my attention.
Okay.
Yeah, Arya's LeBlanc it's nuts.
Yeah.
He's winning in lane, getting solo kills. He knows his damage. He knows his damage numbers down to the last tick of Ignite, and he did once again
Twice.
Well around
Twice he did
yeah,
that.
Twice. Yeah, he just like jumps forward, puts the Ignite down, knows that the Devour's not there, or at least the Guardian isn't there from Tahm Kench to block any kind of extra damage from like a random sigil coming through or something. And once again, we saw Unica not necessarily leading the mid lane jungle 2v2, as we sometimes see someone like Boogie do, right? But he's always there on call.
Or Blank.
He's there to... Or Blank, or someone like that, yes. But then we saw, particularly with the second big mid lane 2v2, where Arya, jumps forward, gets the chains, forces out summoners, jumps back, is on a sliver of HP from Ignites and ults coming through, and then he dodges out of both the Ornn ult and the Cataclysm in one well-timed distortion, and he gets out with his life. This guy just knows how to dance around with his cooldowns and his mobility, and he gets a lot of damage done at the same time. It's a real pleasure watching him play this champion.
Really is.
It's also just
go on, Initialize. Go on.
Yeah, it's a thing with the Hawks at the minute as well, is that their mid 2v2 looks good, but not great at some points, where they get like they're coming off second best by inches in multiple games now. Like they had Tussle winning in the bush there to counter gank. They get the sleep, they get the flag and drag. Arya survives all of it and then finds a solo kill in a 1v4 hopping over a wall like moments later. And it's like, it's these inches that are just so galling for the Hawks. They think this should be fine. We should finally get it. And when your bot lane's losing, when your top lane's lost the 1v3, like, that's troubling.
And I personally believe that a lot of that was due to the fact that Grendel was on this Bard and was routinely making things seem, oh, it's just 2v2, it's mid-jungle, let's fight this. And then out of nowhere, a Bard appears like Nymera's Dreams. And it's suddenly there. It's just a complete nightmare for the Hawks. He can't escape, and they don't get good notes afterwards either for coverage reasons. So feels terrible for them. One of the last things I want to touch on is this Ashe and also the Baron, as that's truly when we started to see the full power of Gango and this Ashe come out. Who wants to run me through the Baron play that happened?
I'll take the Baron.
You want to take the Baron play?
You'll take the ring to Mordor.
Okay, go on, run me through this Baron play, because this was a very controlled play and different style of how CJ played the Baron. So I'm interested.
It really was, mainly because they didn't need the mid laner there to add damage, because they had the Ashe with a lot of items, and specifically the Blade of the Ruin King. The percent health damage is really great versus Baron. So they had the tankiness there. They had the Ashe there to just take it down. And Arya basically spent his time in the wolf pit, hopping over the wall and keeping Honey and Dasher from getting anywhere through the jungle. If they force his flash, he's dancing around, they cannot get on him. And by the time they can finally make their way to the Baron pit, because Nap is playing goalkeeper one end, Arya's on the other end playing goalkeeper, the Baron's dead. And it's off the back of really great play by Arya, just jumping over the walls and not enough instant CC to stop the LeBlanc. There is no like hard CC from Leona or something to keep that LeBlanc accountable.
The thing for me as well is that actually CJ didn't invite the fight. And that's not something we say about CJ that often. They kept them at arm's length, secured the objective. They already had the Ocean Soul in pocket as well. And then they just closed out the game rather cleanly.
Yeah, that Ocean Soul was secured basically by Unica taking a lot of very aggressive dragons and always having priority due to Grendel doing a lot of roaming and Gango just routinely pushing into Honey because he just is not able to respond. Though these things can happen from time to time. Ooh, it looks like our cameras have just disappeared and now we're back. Way, it's like nothing ever happened.
My Discord being weird on me.
These things happen. And also credit to Nap, as you both mentioned on the cast during that period of time. Nap popped the Domrus and was basically... Ran at them and they were like, oh god, the Baron's at what? Like 5k maybe, guys? Nah, it's not worth it. Let's run off because this Renekton will just kill us and end the game solely through that. And that is actually going to be the end of our recap of this. Now we're going to do a quick recap of all of the series. So, gentlemen, we're going to start off as if Game 1 was actual Game 1. So, for us, on the legitimate coverage side. So, we saw Sengoku Gaming face off against those Hawks, and, well, they had a pretty strong showing versus them, I think.
Yep, they did. You know, it was a dismantling. I love the gangplank they drafted. They set up for success. They won around it. Aquaman looked very confident, and Sengoku had their eyes on the win condition, closed out the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also convinced me that Blank and also convinced me that Blank and Appman are a great duo at the minute.
Let's
not
swap.
just Blank Imperium.
Yeah. Let's keep doing it. So one of you says one thing, and then we'll keep
That's
swapping it. No, I just decided because it sounded so good in my head, and I was like, for the next one, let's talk about V3 Sengoku Initialize. Go for it.
V3 versus Sengoku. It was V3 coming out on top. We wondered where these two teams were going to match up. It was just very good play out of Boogie and the squad. It looked convincing from V3.
In V3 we trust. Now it's no longer Boogie solely on their back. But that was confirmed, wasn't it, Nymara, with their game against Crest Gaming Act where they were victorious.
So V3 were looking to secure their second high table scalp from the LJL. Ace has finally found his role within this team. I'm becoming more and more convinced. He picked up the Karma. He nullified Arya a little bit. Of course, he did go down a bit in lane, but it just didn't matter. The team grouped up. They supported Archer, and Archer damn well carried alongside Boogie. So V3 looking very strong. Yeah,
and Boogie having a back pocket Lee Sin on top of everything else this man can do just doesn't seem fair. We're going to pull it around to the last game that we've just covered and Initialize. CGA were able to rectify some of these problems. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, it was the kind of bait and switch by saying, yeah, you take the Ezreal, we've got an answer. That Ash Bard combo made a lot of trouble for the Hawks. And they lost the mid 2v2, and we said before, CGA loved to skirmish, loved to fight. This time they could do both. They won the fights, and that won the 1v3. The mid lane 2v2 went their way. It just looked like the Hawks kind of lost everywhere on the map.
They really embraced the crocodile hunter mentality of fighting, and that was that all in a package. Then we faced off Rascal Jesters against Detonation Focus Me and Nymara. Oh, this wasn't the greatest situation for the Jesters now, was it?
It wasn't. And yet, it could have gone much, much worse. So,
Very
Pink,
true.
new mid laner for Rascal Jester. He's been subbed in for Ninja due to travel restrictions. Picked up Katarina. It's been banned against him in week 1. He comes in. He's losing CS in lane because he's roaming. He roams up to top lane for first blood into a top lane 1v1 between Kog'Kog and Ebby. And then when Seros comes to take mid tower, he 1v1s and then 1v2s and gets a double kill against Seros and Steel solo. But DFM, they know how to play the map. They know how to secure objectives. They ended up fighting back a long fought game and coming back with a bloodied nose, but still a win.
Also, Ebby on the crocodile is very, very
He's back.
scary.
Renekton is good.
He's back, and well, we've seen a few different top laners destroy on him. Our next game was Burning Core facing off against the Rascal Jesters, and well, Burning Core seem to be showing up, don't they, Initialize?
They do, and it is through the man in the jungle. I've told you once. I've told you 1,000
You keep
times.
telling me
That
this,
guy,
yes.
He's so damn good. His Kindred game last week was a little bit suspect because his lanes kind of got a bit collapsed around it. But this time, the Kindred put out utterly insane damage numbers. 9,000 damage in one team fight is one I can remember. He gets a triple kill.
It was, yes.
The wall. It was art on this Poke Varus. The one that's been banned out was looking great in lane. But it wasn't enough to keep Ray Farkey teleporting in and finding backline access. It wasn't enough to keep Proud from getting onto up because people were just a little late. Kog'Kog failed a TP timing despite being strong on the Wukong. Mendy got snowballed, and Kindred, Kindred, got very, very fed.
Yeah, and Yu-Gi-Oh having that perfect game of 0-0-18. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh's finding his similar place like Ace found for V3. Our next game was Axis, our darling team, through running it back up in spring, facing off against Burning Core, and, well, our darlings weren't doing so well, were they, Nymara?
Once was at it again. Picks
Very
up the Echo in the
much.
jungle. And he absolutely slaughtered Axes where they stood. Hogler went towards the Silas jungle, had another middling performance from this jungler. We expected quite a lot of him coming from spring. He had a very good end to that split.
Yeah.
But he's really kind of slumped at the first week or two of the LJL. And Burning Core, particularly around Ray Farkey on his Jace as well, seem to have some very strong players to trust in themselves.
Some very strong players indeed, and it's nice to see Ray Farkey on top, both now playing a tank and a carry. So, return to form for the potentially best top laner. Oh wait, I shouldn't say that out loud. Appamen might come get me. And at the end, we had Detonation Focus Me facing off against Axis, and this was controlled murder, I feel like. This was just calculated from minute one from DFM. Initialize, you may have the floor, sir, for your favorite team in the LJL.
Let me pick you a story. No, a nightmare.
Ooh. Oh.
Name this.
Has it got Bard in it?
It's not. It's kind of worse. It's Ebby on set, levels 1 through 3, with a poor Aatrox who ends up 1 and 7 because Ebby on the set stopped him getting the wave for ages. Steel turns up on the Nidalee. They get 2 kills in a 2v2 dive top, and they snowball it from there. The bot lane goes the way of DFM as well. This was clean. This was controlled. It was a far cry from the mess that they had versus Rascal Jesters. All the synergies looked good. It was damn close to a perfect game.
It was damn close indeed, and that will end us out. I'm going to quickly just recap for anyone who's not quite awake or following us as well as they could be. That is 4-0. Leading the table is V3 Esports. In tied for second place, we have Crest Gaming Act, Detonation, Focus Me, and Sengoku Gaming. Currently sitting at 5th place on a 2-2 record is Burning Core. In 6th place, we have the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming at that 1-3, still using that one win they got from week 1. And to end us out, it's Axis and Rascal Jester tied at 7 at 0-4. But we've still got 5 more weeks to play for. There's still a lot of opportunities. Gentlemen, any last closing thoughts before we go away for another week?
Forget about painting the town red. The LJL is all green lights. It's the V3 at the top of the table, and now we've got to see them versus DFM and see if they can stick up there.
I'm agreeing with you there. The top 4 look competitive. Burning Core look interesting. I'm a bit more worried for our bottom 3. I think the Axis and Jesters are in trouble with their substitute situation. I think SoftBank Hawks, we got their benchmark this week, and it's not looking good again this split, I'm afraid.
Well, with that all said, we do have to plug our podcast here. We do a weekly podcast where we'll give our full recap on everything, far more in depth, where we will cover everything through the week 2, our benchmark and players of the week if you are interested. But for myself, Alex, always on his Lexi, Nightmare and Initialize, thank you for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon.